and just seeing all this amazing security content out there that incorporated memes, movie references, all stuff right up my alley. And I'm like, wow. I was like, security could actually be, pretty entertaining here. Security content can be.
It's really about positioning your customer as the hero, right? Like positioning them as the focus, and then you as the person that helps them get there, right? So like they are Batman and you are Alfred.
You got to give way more than you ask when it comes to social media. And educating the customer has been something that's worked well for us.
It's about them, not us. That's our first half of the year strategies.
Leverage the fact that you have the autonomy to do what the heck you want to do. Leverage the power of social media because it's free and you can get all kinds of attention on you and your business and your team and the products and services that you offer for nothing but an investment in time. I don't know about everybody else, but where I'm at in the world, it's cold today. I don't know if I can say it's cold because I'm sure it's probably a lot colder where most of you are, but it's too cold for Florida. I'll tell you that. I want to welcome everybody to our coffee break call. For those of you that are new to the call, I want to let you know that we host this call every Friday at 11 a.m. And the purpose of the call is to share challenges, obstacles, and opportunities. My goal is to help all of the folks that are on this call learn something, take it back to their business, apply it, and be better for it, right? Whether you join this call to share your expertise or to ask questions, or just to listen in, you're welcome here. We're glad to have you. I'm really excited about the call today because I have with us Tyler Martin, who is our marketing manager. And Tyler is new to our team, but not new to the industry, and really excited to be working with Tyler. We also have Vinny Peone with us as well, who's a little bit of a Bills fan, just a little bit. And so we're glad to have you on, Vinny, as well. Well, guys, today I am excited to share a little bit about what I've learned about social media marketing over the past 5 years. I'm also really excited to get some insights from Tyler and from Vinny. Both of these guys are guys that I've followed online, originally met online, and now have the opportunity to work with. Vinny in the capacity of, they're a dealer partner of ours, and so we're glad to work with him, and Tyler, who joined our team after we kind of, connected online, followed each other, learned a little bit about each other. And so before we get into things, I'd like to give you guys an opportunity to kind of introduce yourselves. Tyler, if you would, I'm going to start with you, and then I'm going to go to Vinny.
Yeah, sure. Happy to be here. My name's Tyler Martin. Like Jake said, I've been in the industry for a little while, about 5 or 6 years, doing marketing, focusing mainly on video content, but also SEO, blog content, some social media stuff. I'm really excited to be a part of the SS&Si team now. It's been a great couple of months. I've been here, I guess, since end of November. So I've been on this call a few times, and my last role, I didn't really get to interact with dealers a whole lot. So it's been great to sit in on these calls and listen to you guys, listen to your experiences and what you guys are doing. I'm excited to hear what you guys are doing today on the digital marketing front. So excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, we're so glad to have you, Tyler. I think that one quick kind of call out on what you said there is, now you have the opportunity to kind of engage with dealers. As we talk today, one of the things that I've found the difference between social media marketing and just marketing in general is that conversation, right? So in marketing, absolutely. You're going one way, you're sending your ad out, you got your canned message, but social media is very much a conversation. So glad to continue that here on the coffee break. And Vinny Peone, we're glad to have you on, Vinny. I'm sure a lot of you have seen Vinny's stuff on LinkedIn. This guy's a wild man, a creative genius, and keeps me cracking up and enjoying his content. So Vinny, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do. Vinny, we're having a little trouble hearing you on your mic. We'll give you a minute to get the mic going, and just go ahead and pop in there with audio when you want. Talk over me, no worries. We'll know that you're good to go on there. So, guys, first of all, I'm curious of the folks in the call. How many of the folks in the call first heard of, met, connected with me online, either on LinkedIn or Facebook? Can you go ahead and raise your hand if the first time you ever heard of Jake Vole was on LinkedIn or Facebook. So we've
Jake, can we all just admit that when it comes to especially your Facebook groups, that you are prolific with your use of social media? I mean, prolific is the word.
Well, thank you. I will say this. I am not a social media expert. I want to point this out. I do not consider myself a social media expert. I consider myself somebody that dabbles with social media and has stumbled into some success with it because we're in such a small industry. And so, but thank you. Thank you for saying that. I'm glad that you're in our Facebook groups and on LinkedIn. Andy, I know that's where we first connected. So glad to have you on. All right, cool. So but nearly half of the folks on the call first connected with me on LinkedIn or on Facebook. That's awesome. For those of you that are not in our Facebook group today, I would welcome you, if you're on Facebook, to check out Burglar Alarms Online. 5 years ago, I stumbled into this group. It had about 3,000 industry folks in the group at that time. And right when I popped in, the guy who started the group offered advertising in the group. He said, "Hey, we're looking for somebody to sponsor it." And I took advantage and I said, "Hey, look, make us a sponsor." We sponsored for a week, for a month, went back and forth with another distributor that wanted to do it. And finally I said, "Hey, I'm paying for a year in advance and then 2 years in advance." And then I said, "Hey, I don't want to pay you anymore. Tell me how much I have to pay you to stop paying you." And then bought the Facebook group. Tyler, can you buy a Facebook group? I think that's kind of.
Yeah, I guess that's what happened as far as I know.
Yeah. So bought the Facebook group. We now have over 10,000 folks in it. That includes not just alarm dealers, but we've got some great central station folks in there, manufacturing partners that are in that group, industry consultants, coaches, all kinds of folks related to the security industry in there. So again, if you're not in Burglar Alarms Online, would love for you to join. For those of you that are using social media for your business today, can you raise your hand for me? Anybody using social media for marketing their business? I want to jump to a few folks on here. First of all, Tyler Buchanan. Tyler, I first met you online. And then I met you in person at, I think it was ISC West for the first time. You interviewed me at the show. This was a live at ISC, I think is what you were calling it. But it was video content that you were basically creating on the show floor at ISC West. Speaking specifically to that campaign, can you tell me about what motivated you to shoot these and publish them quickly from the ISC West floor? And what kind of impact that had for you guys?
So we wanted to basically give our dealers who couldn't go to ISC West a look at what was new at ISC West during the show. A lot of times you'll have videos that are cut up from ISC West and they'll use that content over the next 6 months. But as we all know, information moves fast, especially with social media. So the goal was to visit as many vendor partners as we could and have them just walk through the booth. We'd go up to, like, for example, I went up to you, I went up to alarm.com, a couple other people, and I said, "We want to do a video. Just pretend that I am a dealer and just show me your booth. Tell me exactly what you would tell a dealer that walks into this booth." This year will be our third year of doing it. Last year, I was actually looking at this the other day. During ISC West, I put out 60 pieces of content in 4 days. We shoot it, we edit it, we post it all in the same day. They're all in that show in that period. And it's always brought us an exponential jump in, especially LinkedIn, very exponential jump in traffic and followers.
For the past 5 years, I've felt like I've leveraged storytelling on LinkedIn and on Facebook, kind of sharing my story in written format. And that's been my preferred kind of medium, right? But I realized we were missing the boat as it relates to video content. And actually, kudos, like what I saw that you'd created really made me think like, hey, I think we're missing the boat here, because you were able to create this content very quickly, edit it, cut it up, reuse it. In that same time, I began following Tyler Martin, who's now our marketing manager here, and admiring him. He was working for a competitor that'll go unnamed, but he was doing such an amazing job with video content, and honestly, his voice, I can hear it in my head. I could, I know Tyler's voice from these videos that I watch. I was like, man, this is so awesome. So Tyler, when we're talking about video, can you speak to a little bit about how you guys, how you in your career have leveraged video and the impact that that's had for you on social media in particular?
Yeah, for sure. Video's been great. I started, I guess, around 2018. So everyone was using video, but it hadn't really gotten to the security industry yet, at least not in distribution. There weren't a whole lot of people doing what we were doing. So we started just making really simple videos, showcasing the products, doing some unboxings on our products. And they kind of took off. They kind of really helped us build our brand, get recognized, not just in our local market, but kind of around the nation. And it just kind of took off from there. Video really is such an engaging way to get people to know you, to like you, to trust you in a way that just a faceless social media post from your company can't. So that's something that we realized was the more personal we could be and the more, we could show a face and show ourselves, show who we are, show our personality. We got a lot more interaction, a lot more customers out of that.
You touch on a few things. Corporate messaging is hard to win folks over, right? It's hard to use to win folks over, right? Even our largest competitors, I mean, they do an incredible job. They have multi-million-dollar marketing budgets, and they put out all this messaging that almost nobody interacts with, nobody engages with. There's very few comments, likes, et cetera, on the content. And admittedly, I think a lot of our own, anytime we're putting out corporate messaging stuff, because to some degree, you have to do it, right? Like your company has to say things that are not just wacky all the time, right? Like you have to say some, important professional things from time to time. But you talk about getting people to know, like, and trust you, about showing your personality. And I don't think there's anybody that shows their personality more than Vinny Peone. Vinny's background working for Eastern Security was as a technician, and he did sales, and he was in the field, and he really loved developing social media content. And it was not his quote unquote job to do it. It was just something that he really enjoyed doing. And all of a sudden, I started seeing all these interesting posts from Vinny that made me think, hey, I need to figure this guy out. And Vinny, talk to us about what allowed you, obviously a lot of folks that have folks on their team posting on social media, they worry about like, hey, what is this person going to say, right? Like, what are they going to do? Are they going to present the company the way we want it to be presented? Can you speak to kind of what enabled you at Eastern to have some creative, freedom?
So back in 2023, Cooper McDonnell, the company president, told me that we were going to be expanding our operations to Rochester, New York, which is where I'm from. So I didn't have any social media at the time, believe it or not. I had a deactivated LinkedIn that, I always assumed LinkedIn was just for finding a job. So but being from Rochester, I thought, hey, you know what? Maybe I should activate this. I could talk to people I went to high school with, college with, see if I can find, good leads for the sales team and, help the business thrive out there. And it didn't take me long at all being on social media to discover you or, Benji, the door dork, Phil Coppola, Chad Cooper, and just seeing all this amazing security content out there that incorporated memes, movie references, all stuff right up my alley. And I'm like, wow. I was like, security could actually be, pretty entertaining here. Security content can be. So I started just cooking stuff on my own. I think the first post that I did, it was a Qualsys, an IQ panel that we had upgraded from a Commander 3000. And I did a post on that, and I put the Indiana Jones meme with it, that it belongs in a museum. And, it really started taking off. It got a lot of engagement on it. And then I kind of just kept doing stuff like that. And Cooper, noticed it pretty quickly and said, hey, you seem like you know what you're doing with this. Would you be interested in doing this for the company? And so in addition to being an installation technician, I became our digital content manager, started putting out stuff for the company. And, we've got, I think what's always worked to our advantage is we don't have this gigantic marketing department. We don't need to run things through 1,000 different people to get approved. It's me and Cooper. I bring an idea to him or he brings one to me. We bring it to life. Every now and then, and you guys know me, we push the boundaries every now and then.
I don't know if pushing the boundaries is the right way to say it. I think you just ignore the boundaries and just do whatever.
That's fair.
In a good way.
If we're both not sure on something, we're like a local family business here. So we're all tight knit. It really is like a family here. We'll open it up to our other managers. We'll go to other people in the company and be like, hey, what do you think about this? Like the company is our focus group, but most of the time it's just, it's the dynamic duo, Cooper and I just cooking content here. And honestly, when you start out, there's some back and forth, something has to go through, maybe 3 or 4 times to get approved, but we're always on the same page with things now. And it's, it's very seamless.
You talk about pushing boundaries, right? I think that being in not a small, but a relatively, small organization that you can talk to Cooper and make these decisions together. I think it allows you to put out some content that's, really authentic. It's some of it's a little bit wacky, right? But not in an offensive way. I think that what you've done is you've taken an opportunity to highlight your personality. If you meet Vinny is the guy that you see in the videos. I want to emphasize this. Like when you meet Vinny and you talk to him, he's the same awesome, hilarious guy that you see online. I think this is probably one of the challenges that a lot of folks have on social media, Vinny, is that they're trying to be something that they're not, right? They're in an effort to be quote unquote professional or to do what they think they need to do to reach their audience. They're not being who they are, right?
They're putting out stuff. It's not even necessarily original. A lot of people are relying, and I use ChatGPT, but there's a lot of people out there. If they're doing any kind of marketing, which we established, last summer we had talked about, dealer marketing, and most people weren't using social media, and the ones who were, they were maybe throwing, $10,000 or more monthly to a third party who's outside of security, who knows, nothing about your day to day, nothing about your challenges, but they're happy to cash the checks. And, in the meantime, you're not getting any leads from them. So, with that being said, it is tricky to come up with original content. And, the alternatives to doing it yourself to actually creating is, leaning on, ChatGPT and other AI software. And it's very transparent. When you see these, posts that are thrown together by AI, the text, it all looks the same. Yeah. And it doesn't say anything about your business. And it seems like an ad and a desperate attempt at one. So it's almost worse than an ad. Like the trick is, and why, I think why we've been so successful and why you are, Jake, is because they're ads that don't feel like ads. They're genuine. They're showing you, your personality, your team, and it's there's not a better advertisement than that.
Yeah, I think it's talking about the difference with advertising. You talk about, you can tell that it's just an ad, or they're just trying to get you to buy something. I think we've talked about this before. If we haven't, I am a big believer in some of the stuff that Gary Vaynerchuk kind of preaches about social media marketing and leveraging underpriced attention. And one of the concepts that he talks about is this idea of jab, 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 right hook, right? And in fact, he has a book, Jab, 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 Right Hook. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. You can get it an audiobook or paperback. But the whole concept is this. When we're marketing through social media, we're using authentic messaging, right? And that authentic messaging is, hey, here's who I am. Here's what we do. Here's a little bit about our story. And then boom, buy a big red, right? Like the idea is I want you to come to know, like, trust me, feel connection, have some idea of who I am. And then when I come out with this kind of sales pitch, right? Because in the end, we are trying to sell stuff, right, Vinny? It's not just about likes and follows and impressions. You guys want to sell more video, access control, and alarm systems. We want to do the same at a wholesale level, right? Like we want to win business. And And so, again, that you talk about that idea of just like it being an obvious ad versus establishing you as a subject matter expert. Who I think is really awesome at this. I see Elizabeth Parks is on the call. Elizabeth, are you able to speak a little bit? I don't know if you're able to unmute yourself. I mean, I see all of the content that you put out, and you are offline. You are well known and regarded as a subject matter expert. Can you speak to how you've leveraged LinkedIn specifically to kind of promote your messaging and Parks Associates? What's your strategy with that?
Sure. Well, thank you, Jake. And I always love these calls, and I love this topic. I saw it, and so I had to listen in. If you aren't familiar with us, we're a market research and consulting company. And so we produce industry reports and studies that are tracking the adoption of all sorts of technologies in the home, including, of course, the security markets and smart home. So LinkedIn, I love LinkedIn. I think it's a great marketplace. And per our research, we know that consumers are buying products online. That is where they go to buy most everything these days. And so therefore, business people are also consumers, and that's where people go to evaluate and understand products and solutions. And so we leverage LinkedIn by sharing top line data and insights. We also market our events, and since we're a research firm, we think educating the market, regardless of being a buyer of our data, is part of really our mission, right? Is to help educate, inform, and companies can't afford a $12,000 study. And so we like to be able to share that, and that's helped build, a lot of goodwill in the industry, and for us to be seen as an independent group that has an interest in building the industry, not just profiting from it. So our strategy this year, we're actually shifted. We just had a meeting on this actually, and we're moving into it's about them, not us. That's our first half of the year strategy. So if you follow us, you'll see more and more posts about the companies that we track and follow and the news that they have, which we assess in our research. But I think that's another good way. If you're thinking, I don't know what kind of content to post, well, go post about your customers and then tag them, and then they'll like you and they'll like it and comment. And for instance, we posted about, Comcast just came out with a new streaming service about sports. And so, we're sharing with their corporate team, hey, we just posted about y'all. We just want to make sure you knew, because then they will like it and people will comment, and we're not trying to sell them something. I hope that helps give a little bit of Parks strategy. And if we're not connected on LinkedIn, I would love to connect. I may have to unfollow a few people because I think I maxed out on connections, but feel free to reach out to me.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Elizabeth. And, I have been following Elizabeth on LinkedIn. I think originally that's where I connected with her, and then have met her at numerous events now. She is as incredibly knowledgeable as she appears online. I love to get all the little tidbits of information, and then I even more than that love to hear her unpack it in person at any of the many events where she's speaking. So thank you again, Elizabeth, for jumping on. A couple of quick notes from what Elizabeth talked about there. The strategy of them, not us. I think that's it's right in line. There's a book called Story Brand. It's called Building a Story Brand. And Tyler, this is something that I want to connect with you after the call on. It's really about positioning your customer as the hero, right? Like positioning them as the focus, and then you as the person that helps them get there, right? So like they are Batman and you are Alfred, was kind of the concept. And so really, really interesting shift in kind of a strategic messaging there, Elizabeth. I think that's something we really need to focus on this year as well. And this is one of the things about social media that I think a lot of folks don't really think about. You can change things up. Like your messaging could be this, and you could be talking about your story, your startup story. For us, a lot of times we're talking about, kind of our David and Goliath story, right? Like we are a tiny, minuscule speck of a distributor compared to our multi-billion-dollar competitors. And yet here we are winning business with, companies that are small companies, mid-sized companies, SDM 100 companies, all over the spectrum. So that's a fun story to tell that folks, they can relate to, because I think a lot of our customers kind of feel like a David in a Goliath type scenario with much larger competitors. There's another thing that Elizabeth talked about, which was that people go online to get information, right? I think people buy from people, right? And I think Elizabeth's right that people go online to find information. And so leveraging social media gives you the ability to provide that information, to provide that value that they're looking for when they go online, but it's also coming from a person, right? And since people buy from people that they know, like, and trust, I think that a lot of folks, at least in my experience, choose to buy from us because, hey, like, I know Jake. I know him. I go to events and people are like, oh, Jake from LinkedIn. I feel like I know you, right? I can tell you it's a superpower in sales. Being able to walk into a room, shake hands with somebody, they already know who the heck you are. It's a superpower. Tyler, you know a lot about providing value. Can you speak to the strategy, like your overall strategy over the past few years about providing value, tutorials, things like that? That's not an ad, but how did that work for you?
Yeah, like Elizabeth was talking about, in terms of just educating the customer, wanting to build up the industry. I love what she said, building up the industry, not profiting from the industry. And I think that's kind of the strategy of value. The jab, 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 right hook. It's you got to give way more than you ask when it comes to social media. And educating the customer has been something that's worked well for us because someone might just be looking for a security camera. They don't know anything about who we are, but then they find a camera that maybe they've been looking at and they can watch some tutorials on it, watch an unboxing. Well, now that not only know about the camera, but they know about you and they know that you're a person that has the camera, can offer the solution for them. It's
more than an advertisement is really what it is, right? Like, we see, and this is something I follow hundreds, if not thousands, of alarm companies on Facebook, on LinkedIn, all over the place. If you have a social media page for your business and you're posting things and I'm not following you, please send me a link. I'd love to follow you. One of the things that I find, though, is a lot of the content that I see like posted is a picture of an alarm panel or a picture of a camera. And I'm just not sure a lot of times, like, if I am sure it's probably not the best strategy. So Tyler, when you talk about, you want to sell a camera, you don't say, hey, we have this. And sometimes we do, like, don't get me wrong. Like, some of our messaging is, hey, we sell 8 megapixel IP cameras. But more successful than saying, hey, here's an 8 megapixel IP camera, your take is, let's show somebody what that 8 megapixel IP camera can do. And in fact, I know, Kyle on our team has been posting all kinds of videos, walking people through settings, walking people through what it looks like. That's not an advertisement. That's providing value. But you're telling me that as a long-term strategy, this is going to work for us, right? You feel pretty good about that?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely in the long term.
Good news.
Yeah, because people are going to see your video and they're going to buy it from somewhere cheaper, or people are going to be in that Uniview group and not our customers. Yeah. But in the long term, people, we're building trust. We're giving people the information, and they're going to come back to us.
Yeah. So for those of you that are on LinkedIn and you're worried, like you just feel uncomfortable with it, is there anybody on the call that's willing to admit that they just don't feel comfortable marketing themselves or their company on LinkedIn, that they just don't know what to post, that they just feel a lot of pressure on getting it right? Is there anybody on the call that feels that kind of way? This is one of the things that I absolutely, kind of conversation I love to have. So with folks that are like, hey, I want to do it, but I don't know where to start, and I'm feeling a little bit intimidated by it. So I'm going to call on Mindy because I know Mindy, and I'll call on some other folks too. But Mindy, are you able to unmute yourself?
Yes. Hi there.
Hey. Now, Mindy is a rock star sales rep. She works with one of our awesome partners, Alcom Security in Oklahoma City. And Mindy, I have been seeing some content, some video content, some things that you guys have been posting, and you're the star of it. So tell us a little bit about some of the things that maybe you're thinking as it relates to social media, maybe some of the worries that you might have.
Yeah, I think the biggest worry is just like, don't love to see or hear myself on the camera.
Oh, it's the worst. If you love to hear yourself talk, there's something wrong with you. The sound of my voice makes my eyes bleed. Like I absolutely hate to hear myself talk. So I totally get that.
Yeah. And you actually said something earlier that was like, ooh, okay, I needed to hear that. Like, I tend to try to be super professional, right? Like, I'm like, and here we have an alarm.com 724 camera, like super, super professional, instead of like when I'm with a customer, making it really relate to their lives. And so just taking that pressure off of it having to be like corporate style, every word elaborate type. I did a video not too long ago and I seriously had like 13 paragraphs of what I was going to say. And then I'm like, I don't need to say like 90% of this, right? So just kind of keeping it friendly and happy to fit my personality and not so corporate. When you said that, I was like, man, okay, I could do that.
Yeah. And I think that we all tune out corporate speak. Like I could watch a commercial on TV and have no idea what was just said, right? Like just because it's so polished, right? But then all of a sudden I could watch a reel on Instagram and like I'm sucked in because it's just very real and somebody's probably getting hurt, right? Like, I don't know,
Sure.
The algorithm is feeding me people doing dumb things. But Vinny, you do sales, right? And so are you the same guy in front of a customer? And obviously, I don't think you're lifting up your shirt and showing off your tattoo on your lower back. Maybe you are. I don't know.
How do you think I'm getting sales?
Yeah. I knew it. Vinny, were you ever nervous about it though? Like, how did you overcome that pressure to be like a professional on LinkedIn? Not that I don't want the messaging to be Vinny acts like a fool. He doesn't. Like he's just very authentic. He's bold, as Sharon had posted in the comments. He's just very him. How did you overcome the pressure not to be so buttoned up?
So, I mean, I grew up with an old camcorder, and it was just a hobby of mine growing up to shoot videos, whether skateboarding videos, just things around the neighborhood. I always loved doing it. I always loved being on camera. So for me, it was a hobby. Doing it, representing the company, obviously presented a new challenge because I got to balance, having fun and being me with our brand messaging, with being professional, being on LinkedIn, which everybody says LinkedIn is strictly for business. And I think, having an awesome mentor and obviously immediate supervisor here with Cooper, who, he was confident in me and, kind of gave me empowered me to be myself with it. And, within reason, obviously, that helped a great deal. And I think for most marketing professionals, they have too many restrictions in front of them and they have to play this balancing act of having great content, but also keeping legal happy, keeping HR happy, keeping 10 other managers around them happy. And it's just that they put too many roadblocks in their own way to be able to be themselves.
Yeah, I think that's some of it I think is unavoidable. Like the bigger the company gets, you can't be that. That's why a lot of times we see these huge companies, they partner with influencers, which are, it's like, well, why do they do that? Well, it's because we can have authentic messaging that maybe we're not totally responsible for. Right? Like, it's like, well, we can only speak in corporate speak, but like this person can do whatever and they can drink Coke and that's cool. Right? And if it's not so great, well, like that's on them, not on us. For small companies, you get to basically you have the opportunity to be an influencer within your own company, right? To tell your story, not just to prospective customers, because I think this is important too. And I don't know if you can relate to this, Vinny, but for me, social media hasn't been just about attracting new customers. It's also helped me connect with prospective new hires. I mean, again, Tyler, I think we connected on LinkedIn and we followed each other, and now he's here, right? I think about the other folks on my team multiple folks that reached out on LinkedIn. Every week, I get at least 2 people that message me on LinkedIn asking for a job. Like, hey, are you guys hiring? I'd love to come work there, whatever the case might be. I think that a lot of folks aren't really considering that this is beyond just getting customers. Do you guys also feel that that LinkedIn has helped you kind of get plugged in more to your community, to prospective employees? What's your take on that?
I would absolutely agree with that. I mean, LinkedIn, at its core is, obviously like the social network to be posting, job ads on. And I don't like just plain, boring job ads. I mean, if you could very clearly tell which ones I've written by the ones that are really spruced up and, fun and exciting. But it goes beyond just the simple application on there. I mean, we put out content, videos, pictures. We showcase our people all the time, to show, to advertise what kind of workplace this is, that it's, fun, dynamic, welcoming workplace. I think LinkedIn is fantastic for that. And not for nothing, I'll promote them on Facebook and Instagram as well, with the goal of, finding candidates for jobs, or even just getting our brand in front of people. I mean, for social media, even if you're not going to get a sale for every single ad you put out, but it's about building your brand, promoting brand awareness, getting your name in front of more people, whether they're, in their office or they're in the bathroom and they're scrolling through reels, on paid company time, and they say like, oh, hey, Eastern Security's hiring, or, hey, they've got, a deal on Big Reds. Just having that, your name in front of them, your brand in front of them. And I think it's invaluable, and it levels the playing field between, a smaller company and a mega company. Because, you're never going to compete with a national brand on, paid ads on Google, getting your name to the very top of it. If they want to dominate your market, they are absolutely going to. They're going to spend, $30,000 a month to make it happen. With social media, you could flood the internet with your content. Have it so someone searches your name, searches security systems in Orlando, whatever. You have enough content out there, and you've done it correctly. That's going to start coming up in those Google searches as well. You're going to be everywhere, and it really does level the playing field.
I think I think it gives a glimpse into company culture. Somebody that's looking to work for Eastern Security is like, oh, like Eastern Security, it looks like a pretty cool place to work. Tyler, I'm going to put you on the spot for this. I don't know if, prior to saying, hey, I'd like to work at SS&Si, do you feel like our social media presence kind of gave you a glimpse into what kind of company we were, what kind of lunatic I am?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, following seeing your stuff on social media, hearing about you from other manufacturers, even. I feel like I knew a lot about you, not so much about the company necessarily. I knew what SS&Si was, but I didn't know much about the team. But yeah, seeing you on social media, kind of getting that warm up for a couple of years, definitely put me on track to being where I am today.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad I could win you over time. We had somebody ask in the comments. They asked, what the difference is between social media platforms, how you tweak content across platforms, and Tyler, this is something I've been impressed with that you've done recently, is taking some of this content and kind of reworking it in multiple formats. Can you? I know there's a lot to get into with different formats and things, but could you at least kind of break it down a little bit? Some examples of how you might take something from one of these calls and do it in different formats. How do you do that? How do you decide on how that works?
Yeah, for sure. The best way to start is with long form content like this. I think this is perfect because we go through so many different topics. Lots of different ideas get brought up on these calls. So we can take this and publish it as a video, we can publish it as a podcast, but then we can cut out these little snippets of everything that you guys are saying or some stuff that Jake says, take these out, 30-second clips about 10 different topics and post these on social media. This can be reworked into a blog post. I've done this for one of these calls so far. And then just, posting it out on social media. Someone asked about, do we need to change it up for different platforms? I think to an extent you do, especially, Twitter. You have a character limit. Instagram, you're limited to the size of your image. Facebook and LinkedIn have different flavors of the style that you might write. But at the end of the day, if you're starting with something like this, or you can sit down, record yourself talking about a product or service for even just 10 minutes, and then you have 10 minutes worth of content that you can cut up and throw it up on Instagram Reels. YouTube Shorts is big. I don't know if TikTok is going to be around much longer, but throw it up on TikTok. Throw it up on, even LinkedIn has short form video now. So make use of that. Throw it up on LinkedIn and put it everywhere. Your customers are everywhere. So that's something that, we talked about Gary Vaynerchuk. He says all the time, we got to be where the customer is. And we have, these channels in front of us. We got to be making use of them somehow. It's time consuming, but once you get into the flow of it, it's you can automate a lot of this too. So that's what I do.
We talked about this in the beginning of the call, how the difference between just traditional advertising and social media is like advertising is talking at your customers, and social media marketing is really more of a conversation. And you talk about it being potentially time consuming, and no doubt it is. I mean, I have an unhealthy work-life balance. I'm going to tell you right now, I spend an exorbitant amount of time replying to people, commenting, reading all kinds of stuff. Even if I'm not liking or commenting, I'm screenshotting stuff and sending it to Tyler. I'm like, hey, check this out. Don't you think this is cool? We should do something like this. Just spending a ton of time. But I can tell you that investment has made me feel more connected to our customers than ever before. Like I feel like the more time I spend engaged in those conversations on those threads, like I understand our customers, and obviously, on some level I can relate to them. Growing up in a family alarm business, and many of our customers are family-owned alarm companies, but things have changed since the 90s, right? Like it's not totally the same, and so that constant connection I feel like has been really helpful. It also has helped me at in-person events. And Vinny, I know you participate in I think it's a Central New York professional. To speak to that, but I know that I see content that you post at those types of events. Do you think that your online presence helps you to make the most out of those in-person events?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I go to that event. I started going to them last year. They do a New Year's party, and Eastern Security sponsored it, and it's CNY professionals under 40. So it's all, young professionals in various industries. There's not a whole lot of security folks there. So it's a great venue to network, to meet, obviously prospective clients, but also just to educate people on, security trends, technology, and risks today. And, we have actually had sales from it as well. So it's definitely been a worthwhile use of time, but they're very involved online. And that's how that group has grown to this extent. I mean, they've got 6 different cities that they have these groups in now in upstate New York. And, everything they do is posted online. They, film you doing your speech. If you're sponsoring it, they tag you in it. They do member spotlights. And it's always awesome knowing that if I post something that's relevant to their group or to other local professionals, I always get their network as well, because they'll like and repost it. And that's so pivotal. It's pivotal to make those types of relationships with other, folks, whether influencers or groups who are active online and will support you and you support them.
It's been interesting to see our own story play out, in particular over the past 5 years. I've talked a little bit about how I got started in this business, and I won't go through the long story, but I can tell you that there was 10 years of no growth. I mean, really like just a plateau, up and down, but pretty level. And I started to question, hey, was this like a good idea? I mean, like, I could have gone and gotten a job and maybe could have done something else. And maybe this wasn't a great idea. I think sometimes I picked the hardest business. Distribution is like totally commoditized, right? Like we sell products, the same products that everybody else sells for about the same price as everybody else. And that can be a challenge, right? And so for 10 years, it was flat. And then 5 years ago, having kind of unlocked the potential for us to outcompete our competitors, like outcompete multi-billion-dollar companies for attention, for access to the channel, to reach buyers, to reach even manufacturers through social media, and then watching, okay, now this is helping us win customers. People are reaching out to me on LinkedIn, on Facebook. They're saying, hey, I'd like to learn more about what you guys are doing. When we started doing our branding, they're like, hey, I want info on that. I see you posting about it in your Facebook group. We want to do that. New team members joining the team, and now we can service more and more customers. I think about even today at 1 o'clock, I'll have a call with a company, huge company, major opportunity for us to sell a bunch of mobile surveillance trailers. And the gentleman that teed it up, we connected on LinkedIn originally. We met in person. He made the mistake of getting in a car with me. I nearly killed him because I'm a terrible driver, as we've talked about on some of these calls. And last week he said, hey, Jake, I'm at a place where I've got a really great opportunity. I think that you could be our vendor for mobile surveillance trailers. Teed it up, right? All of that started from Facebook, from LinkedIn. Yeah, we met in person, but there was a warm up online. And today, again, 1 o'clock, huge opportunity because of this. And I just think that's pretty cool. We didn't spend money on that. Like there's no money spent. I think that's, Justin chimed in here. Do you promote your content? Facebook will hide your content if you don't promote it. Honestly, sometimes we'll promote some stuff, but generally I don't. I mean, I found that just organic reach has been very powerful. On my LinkedIn, I never promote anything. And this is probably nothing compared to some of the folks on the call. But last year I had over 1 million impressions on organic content, stuff that there was no paid campaign associated with it, but 1 million times somebody saw my stuff. That's powerful. I mean, that's really just, it's incredible. Well, thank you, Vinny. But what I'm saying is you guys can do that too. And it might not be 1 million impressions. It might not be, the 10 billion impressions that, I'm sure Elizabeth probably gets on her stuff. But it could be 100,000. It could be 50,000. It could be 10,000. It could be 500. If you look at it, like, think about it. If you had the opportunity for free to pitch yourself to hundreds of people, would you do it? Would you take that opportunity? I think most of you would. I think you guys would take the opportunity to do it. We're going to be closing up the call here in just a couple of minutes, and I want to call on somebody else here. Do me a favor. If you have tried LinkedIn, if you've tried Facebook and you've given up on it, you said, hey, it's not worth the time, I want you to raise your hand for me real quick. Come on, I know there's some folks on here that tried and gave up. All right, Lucas is admitting it. Lucas, I'm going to go to Lucas. Lucas, tell me, why'd you give up on it?
I'm not very good at the marketing aspect of this. So everything I was doing was costing me money, and I wasn't really getting much out of it besides spam comments from bots saying, I was trying, like, I mostly did Facebook advertising, but it was, it was mostly spam. It was, your Facebook's going to get deleted if you don't, all this stuff. And I just kind of gave up on it. And I kind of gave it another try beginning of the year, and I kind of got the same results. A lot of impressions, I've got thousands of impressions, but it didn't generate any sales. So tell me real quick, how long have you been in business under Echo Security? I've been in business for 3 years.
3 years. Before that, how long were you in the industry?
Almost 20 in various different security low voltage roles.
20 years in the industry, 3 years in business for yourself. Have you overcome any challenges or obstacles in that time?
Plenty, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I bet that if you were to sit down and write all of the challenges and obstacles that you've overcome in the past 20 years, if you were to look at just the last 3 years and figure out, hey, like, what are these things that were really, really hard? As a small business owner, what did I struggle with? And I bet that if you were to take some of those things in just short form, write them out. As a business owner, I struggled to compete with a national provider, but we came in and won this bid because the owner saw that we could provide local service. We won the contract. We won the day. I'll guarantee you, and this is one of the things that I think, like, when I have nothing else to write about, I love to write about struggle, right? Because I think everybody all the time is struggling with something. Everybody recognizes that, like, being in business is hard, being in sales is hard, being an installer is hard. And people can relate to that story. And I think that, like, if I were to give you one piece of advice on a LinkedIn strategy, talk about it. I mean, seriously, connect with folks, talk about that, ignore all of the metrics for a while, because the metrics are going to be like, 14 people saw this. Man, I just poured my heart out into a LinkedIn post. I don't know if people really like this, right? But I can tell you that for me, not only has it helped me to win business, not only has it helped me to earn that know, like, trust from thousands of people now, it's also helped me to stop and reflect. Like, I can tell you this, as a small business owner, those challenges, those obstacles will burn you out. Like, you will find over the next few years, you're going to have so many things that come up. And at some point, if you're like me, you will reach your breaking point. You'll be like, hey, like, this sucks. Like, why did I do this? This was a terrible idea. I should have kept my job with benefits and made more money, whatever the case might be, right? But I'll tell you that you'll tell your story, you'll reflect on it, and not only is it going to help you, but somebody else is going to read that, identify with it, and it's going to help them too. And that's just an easy way to build rapport with people. And I can't tell you how many times people pop in my messages and they'll say, hey, thanks for sharing that story. I can really relate to that. You know, I was struggling with something similar, you know, or I'm struggling with it now. And thank you for sharing that story. Don't give up on it. Don't give up on social media. I can tell you it's been a game changer for me. I know that I've seen it be a game changer for Tyler. And I'm glad that it ended up with him now on our team, right? And he's going to help us continue to do what we're doing and leveraging it. I know it's been a game changer for Vinny. I mean, I'm excited. I'm not going to spill the beans on just what a game changer it is for him. But I will tell you what's public. You know, he's now the director of marketing for Eastern Security. He's a director of marketing for Intelitech. That's a guy that was not in a marketing. Vinny, you weren't in marketing before, right?
No, I dabbled in it as a car salesman several years ago.
Yeah. And look, now you're the director of marketing for two really awesome companies. You're doing a great job. Tyler's doing an incredible job here for us. We are an undersized, minuscule, tiny speck of a distributor compared to our huge multi-billion-dollar global competitors. But leveraging social media is a winning strategy. I mean, we've got big corporate folks saying, oh my gosh, how do we do this? How do we do this social media stuff? We don't know what to do. He's winning business, and it's not just small guys now. They're getting some big accounts. What do we do? And honestly, they really can't do anything because of what Vinny spoke to. It's got to go through legal. It's got to go through 15 different departments. It's got to go through all kinds of layers of management, and it's going to come out as corporate speak that nobody's going to listen to. And so for that, I'm grateful. I think it's a huge opportunity. I think for most of the folks on the call, leverage the fact that you have the autonomy to do what the heck you want to do. Leverage the power of social media because it's free. And you can get all kinds of attention on you and your business and your team and the products and services that you offer for nothing but an investment in time. Don't miss that opportunity. If you have questions about it, feel free to reach out to me. I am not an expert, but our business has grown over 550% in 5 years by leveraging not just, social media, an awesome team, all of that. But very critical to that was just how much effort we put into the social media strategy. I hope you do it too. I hope you guys go and do some social media craziness. Maybe get a big red tattoo on your lower back. That seems like the thing to do, Vinny. Get crazy with it. Have fun with it. Tell your story. And then report back. Let me know how it worked for you. If you have questions along the way, reach out. Guys, we do this call every Friday at 11 a.m. I invite you to join. Whether you chime in, ask questions, comment or not, you're always welcome here. If you do business with us today, thank you. Like, we appreciate the opportunity to support you. We're so thankful for the opportunity to put your logo on the products that you install. I think that all of you deserve it. I think that it's just something that after spending years building your reputation, your logo ought to be there on the products. If you don't do that, if you don't work with us today, you're still welcome on the call, whether you buy from us or not. But I invite you to reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you about how we can bless and brand your products. Thank you for being here today. Vinny, did you have something you wanted to add before we went out?
I did, and I'm cognizant I lost out on about half my time here because the lack of a quality microphone early on.
That's okay.
I wanted to put this out there. I mean, this is a challenge. We've talked about this a number of times, but it's a challenge that not everyone has the time, the patience, the resources, the stomach for. And, as integrators, I completely understand that. That's my background. And there's nobody who understands your day-to-day challenges and your operations more than Cooper and I do, which is why and you mentioned spilling the beans here. I'm absolutely fired up to announce that Cooper and I will be starting a marketing agency specifically geared towards dealers and integrators in the security industry. And we're in the early stages right now. We're already scheduling meetings for ISC West in April here. So if this is something you want to get in early on, please feel free to reach out to me, whether on LinkedIn. My email is vinny@easternsecurity.net. And I'm absolutely thrilled to be able to help you guys tell your story. So thank you, Jake, for having me on again here.
And Vinny, we're so glad to have you on. Thank you and I'm so excited. I think that you're spot on. Folks need a little help with it. They need some direction. If you want to connect with Vinny, please feel free to just send us a note back to the email that you got earlier today. I'll connect you with Vinny and they can work with you. Again, if there's anything I can do to help, reach out. And I hope to see you online and hopefully offline and in person too. And in the meantime, have a great weekend and hope to see you next Friday at 11 a.m. Thanks so much.